Hello and welcome to Roll for Conversation. Once again, you join us for group therapy, shared despair, and holistic screaming into the void, all while proudly being woke as fuck. Ian, Mark, how are you both?
I'm fine, thank you, Ben. How are you?
Yeah, cannot complain on this amazing Saturday night, which I certainly remembered we were going to be recording this evening, not the next evening. Just happy to be here.
To be fair, my chaos energy that made me realise that we weren't recording tomorrow at like 11:30 last night. But we're here now. No, that's pretty good.
All right, way to rub it in, Mark.
I feel like I've been awash in chaotic energy because, like I said, Mark remembered that he was doing something else on Sunday. Ben thought we were doing it on Sunday, and my parents apparently decided to try and get me to book a restaurant to eat whilst they were in motion on the way back from Bordeaux. Which was, as it turned out in the end, folly. So me and Connie ended up going for Turkish on our own, which it's still a Turkish. We also, because we like to support like local workers and stuff like that, we also ordered way more than we needed because we felt guilty about the fact that we denied them of 6 people and there was only 2. And so we got too many starters and we bought Turkish coffee at the end. So I'm all powered on Turkish coffee, but I don't know about you. What's everyone been up to this week?
Mainly being a bit insane, as previously discussed. The combination of the NHS and naturally being a bit insane has not been ideal. But I am happy to say that my medication finally arrived in the post yesterday.
Yay!
And I am now no longer raw dogging reality, which is good for both me and everyone around me, which is fantastic. My plan to come off my meds has been slightly postponed based on my reaction to not having them for a few days. But you know, we're putting things in place. We're growing as people. We're something else that sounds impressive and hopeful. You know how it is.
Well, I mean, I feel kind of guilty that my week has just been one of, when I think about it, pure excess and what would be the word? I guess like frivolous. Like basically, I've just played video games all week, as I generally do.
I do like frivolity.
Well, I feel like I live for frivolity, or most things that I would do
naturally
would be
frivolous,
seen
man.
I think most things I do would be seen by many as completely frivolous, but in a kind of very first world problems type way. I got really sick of grinding World of Warcraft Classic and took a break to play Claire Obscure Expedition 33.
Fantastic.
Which I must say I am quite enjoying. I have not been turned off yet. I did have to turn the difficulty down to story because timing parries is just not my thing.
That's what I heard on the computer game show. Are you a turn-based type of guy normally?
I have been known to partake, not usually in this way, but I will say that
Not
I
like this.
not like this. I do like the combat actually, and what I've heard from, like, I was listening to the Podquisition with James Stephanie Sterling, and they were saying that they turned the difficulty down, got a bit more feel for when you need to counter, and then once they got a feel for it, turned it back up, and actually that's a good way to sort of get into it.
It's just like a practice thing.
Yeah, and I will admit that it does actually feel quite good, like when you do like parry someone. But I am not a parry guy. Like when I play Elden Ring or Dark Souls or something, I'm a dodge roll man, and or I craft my builds to just be like a beast of a tank, and I just tank stuff straight to the face and don't worry about it. I'm not. I've never been able to parry in anything. I don't know. It's something about the long. And they have this in Expedition 33, but those like long wind-ups to deliver their attacks. Mm-hmm. And I get faked out about halfway through, and then I just keep pressing the button like in a panic, and then it just doesn't go right. So I've kind of gotten the hang of it. I won't necessarily talk about it too much more because it's on Game Pass. So if anyone's going to try it, they should try it. And they did definitely try it for at least the first 2 or 3 hours because it I know, Ben, that you've played a bit of it.
I have.
And it kind of introduces the story, and it does the story in quite a good way where it's not just like hundreds of years ago, I will now do some exposition. It like it kind of just drops you in it and then just keeps like feeding you little bits as you go along. And you're like, oh, okay. And you kind of get it as you go. I mean, I think a lot of people might know what it's kind of about, but yeah,
I have no idea. I assume Expedition 33, but what that is.
It is the 33rd
of those things.
Expedition. Well, it's not actually.
Oh.
It's more than that because it's counting down from 100. But again, I'm gonna say that to create intrigue and then say no more because
I am intrigued, I must admit.
Because it is genuinely quite interesting. I think that's what's kept me going in it. And then second to that, then I'm like, oh, actually, this looks really nice. And I think it won't be spoiling anything to say that it's kind of set in sort of France. So the only other good thing about that,
like your mum.
Well, yes, actually, yeah. She was sort of in France. But actually, when I texted her and said, "Where are you going to park tonight?" She went, "Well, we don't know yet because we're under the channel." I was like, "Okay." But anyway, what that means is that they say a few French swear words all the time. So they say like putain and merde a lot, and I love merde. From ever since I watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and Napoleon Bonaparte was like missed at the bowling alley and said merde, 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 merde. I've been obsessed with the word merde. So yeah, I would recommend that you should play it, Mark, because I think I'd like to do some sort of a discussion about some of the things that it's saying, not just about the general premise, but just in a kind of more sort of like metaphorical way. It's like a commentary on, or I think at least on like
French swearing,
those that come after you,
and
French swearing. Yeah, no, there's something definitely very philosophical there, and it's just there's a lot of really cool things in it. And yeah,
I would say from my perspective, it definitely really touches upon living, mortality, and what you can do with the time that you have, whether you are an adult or a child, and just like when you're thrust in situations that are very much where the odds are stacked against you, what are you going to do in that type of time? It's a very, very enjoyable game. I will say that I had quite a few issues this morning, but I think it was just like a graphics driver thing, but it is very enjoyable. So I would really, really recommend you to play it as well, Mark, when you can. I think you would it would be up your alley.
Well, I've heard it's incredibly sad, which I'm very, very pro.
Yeah, I'm pro sad.
I enjoy sad media, I must admit.
It is. It wastes no time on getting in on the sad.
Boy, does it
sad from the start. But like, it's also, not only is it kind of like sad, not only is it kind of very beautiful, not only is it intriguing and interesting as a concept, and quite sort of brutal, it's also like incredibly stylish to the point where like these people are living in this kind of, I guess you could call it post-apocalyptic. And I'm like, would they really give too much of a shit about having such fine tailors?
Like, shouldn't they have very nice clothes? I've seen Mad Max.
Shouldn't they have other things to worry about? Exactly. Like, I was assuming that when everything goes to shit, we'll all just start dressing like Lord Humongous and just wearing like metal pants.
My heart's desire for this sort of situation is that it all suddenly becomes very much like the Australian series The Tribe, and we all live in the shopping centre, and some people get a little bit uncomfortably 90s style appropriating of various religions and customs, but we put that to one side and survive the apocalypse together.
Well, you said about the 90s there, to be honest. We're kind of on the precipice of something bad. I don't know what it is yet, but lots of shit's going wrong. And people are dressing like the 90s. So I don't know if this is a really bad a really
the
bad
baggier the jeans, the closer to the precipice you are. I never had baggy jeans in the 70s.
Well, only the bottoms.
Mind you, then the 80s happened. So
yes, I feel like it's all a matter of perspective. I don't know about you, but I thought the 80s were really cool because I grew up in the 90s, And so the 90s to me were
Yeah.
kind of just lame. But anyway, I guess the only other thing I've got to say is that I also played this game called Look Outside, which is, because of my proximity to the RPG Maker software, as soon as I booted up, I knew it was made in RPG Maker, but it's very inventively and masterfully done for an RPG Maker game. But it's essentially like a survival kind of horror game.
Ooh.
Like something's happened and you are not allowed to look outside.
Oh,
And you're kind of stuck. If you were to look it up now, the pixel art is just really, it's very extra. It's very like, there's some sort of Cronenbergish shit going on.
oh shit. Yeah.
I would suggest that that's all right to check out as well. It's about £8. So that has made me think, right, I've really got to start making the game that I've been planning in my head for RPG Maker for a long time. But we'll leave that for another day to explain that. But I've talked about myself and my frivolous
Your frivolities.
journey into games
Ian's many frivolities.
away from World of Warcraft Classic, which is just kind of making me sad at the moment because it's taking so long. Which is not a good reason to play a game, to be honest. But yeah, I've got to make that video. I've been promising and threatening to make. And as I was saying to you guys over the weekend, I whittled down terabytes of footage to about 550 odd gigs. So I'm primed to do it. I could do it. I can get it off my hard drive, and then I'll never look back.
And you'll have that space back.
You'll feel better when it's done, like a big poo.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have unburdened myself.
Speaking of big poos, I foolishly tried to play Tekken 8 again.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just like the mind boggles how they've managed to make it so bad.
But I thought they made it better again.
Yeah, wasn't there like a super patch?
Well, they said they were going to do like a big defensive patch because everyone complained about how like just fucking brain dead and degenerate everything is. Like you literally just mash buttons until someone dies.
That sounds like my type of game.
I mean,
Yeah, quite. But it turns out that that was a fucking lie meme. Like it literally, like the big defensive patch that was coming had basically no real defensive like additions in it, or the ones that were there were hidden by the fact that some of the characters do have guns now, which seems a little outside of what I'd come to like about Tekken. But yeah, so they've replaced, from what I gather, the dev team with the Tekken 7 dev team. Like quite quietly, it was just mentioned in a tweet by the guy that directs it that said we've got like some old guys back on board. So they've obviously like kicked the lads that made this one out of the way, and we're like, go get the ones.
So they've done like a literal physical rollback of staff.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's the thing. Like they wouldn't roll back the patch, but they've rolled back the staff, and now the old staff have to fix the new one.
Okay.
But it's just not fun to play at the moment. But I have gone back to, well, not gone back, but re-engaged more heavily with Street Fighter, and I'm really enjoying the new Fatal Fury as well, which is like the first Fatal Fury game in I think it was 30 years.
Yeah, I saw you've been playing that.
I'm enjoying that. And I also watched that 2.5 hour FD signifier video on Hoteps. So yeah, now I'm more educated on that than I was, but still probably not necessarily in a position to comment.
I had seen it, but I think that what I did is I consumed it like I do most media, which was from where I'm sitting here, and audio listeners, well, if we put this up on YouTube, you won't see me anyway. So everyone that's listening to this on whatever medium will not be able to see me, indicating that over the top of my screen, I can see my TV, which is at an angle, and I can see half of it. And so I was probably playing World of Warcraft Classic whilst he talked me about Hoteps. And what probably happened is I didn't really listen to much of it. And then every now and then, when Super Eye Patch Wolf said something, I probably went and craned my head and went, "Oh, it's Super Eye Patch Wolf," and then went back to like grinding fucking hogs or whatever in the forest.
My obviously incredibly painfully white take on this, which as a white man I obviously have to have an opinion on things that aren't none of my business. But it seems that the term Hotep has taken a similar trajectory to the term woke, in that it used to actually refer to something quite interesting and analytic, and then people just used it to shut everyone up, and now everything's well, you can't do anything because of woke. So what are you going to do? Like,
I mean,
anyway.
speaking of woke, the only other thing that I really of any note that I remember consuming this week is just before I went out, me and Connie watched the latest episode of Doctor Who, which I'm not the biggest.
Doctor Who's pretty well.
I'm not the biggest fan, but it is my observation that someone on the Doctor Who writing staff are, especially in this most recent series, I'm really sorry I forget the fella's name who's now playing Doctor Who, but obviously he is a black man. And I feel like they're writing lines that are like, when I hear them, I'm like,
it's like, what?
they're jabbing at the anti-woke brigade, because he says something about like, I am the doctor. In this episode, he says, "Oh, I am the doctor. Like my body changes quite a lot." I said, "Recently, I found myself in this black body." And he said, for some reason, people started treating me differently. And I was like, oh, every episode they're like just throwing a little barb out at the anti-wokes. And like, someone's head is exploding somewhere, and I'm kind of here for it.
Yeah, because that's why they're doing it. Like,
exactly.
TARDIS full of bras tweet was one of my favourite responses to what's the name becoming it. It's just, and just for something that is so obviously high camp, low budget nonsense. No disrespect to any Doctor Who fans out there. Like, come on, like, get angry about anything else.
It's like the MP that stood up in Parliament and was going like, he has like a real fucking nerdling voice, and he's like, "Where are all our male role models these days?" Like Doctor Who was like, "What the fuck do you mean?"
Was he ever
a man running around going?
I don't think anyone ever looked at it as like such a man.
Yeah, talking about wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, like waving a screwdriver around in the air and with a big rainbow scarf or something. It's not like
a bastion for the non-masculine. Well. I mean, you go into MP, then your brain falls out, doesn't it? Ben, what have you consumed this week?
I would say nothing too much recently. I think I have been playing a little bit of Expedition 33, but a lot of my time has been consumed with re-obsessing over Baldur's Gate, which is something that I thought I was going to leave behind after I completed it. But no, here I am, opening multiple saves and just cracking on. So obviously,
what's your intention for this save? Are you doing something different?
Yeah.
Or are you just playing it again? So, or are you doing what I was going to do, a total cunt run? So I'm interested to know what you're doing.
I'm too nice. Every time that there's a rude option, I'm just like, I should press it, and then I just chicken out. I can't. I feel like I have a physical like vulnerability to rudeness, and I just seem so far removed from it. But currently, what I'm trying to do is, at some point, whenever the game got updated, they made like a new honor mode, which is like super, super difficult. And if you win, you get gold dice.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, I cannot stress this enough. They are gold virtual dice that you could use in your next playthrough of Baldur's Gate. So
you meant like actual.
Yeah, I thought Larian were going to send you some fucking dice.
I would love that so much. That would be the coolest thing ever.
Did that with Destiny 2, didn't they?
Did they?
Where like when you did a raid, you could pay shitloads of money to get like an actual physical medal. Basically, it just unlocks a shop that you can spend more money on Destiny with.
Is honor mode essentially like Iron Man? Like, you can't save it. If you die, it's it.
Exactly.
Start again.
Exactly the case. Like single save. If you die, then you're starting from the beginning.
And do you have to play that on Tactician?
Yes. My goodness, I got my butt kicked. And I think I like to think that I have quite a healthy ego, but when I just saw the things that were happening and how systematically my team got dismantled, I was like, okay, we're going to actually have to think rather than just like do anything on vibes alone. So,
well, you mean you can't just walk around the level for like 20 minutes picking up every barrel of like explosives and then stacking them around the end boss and then standing back and firing a cantrip at it?
No, unfortunately not. And they had the better idea, because I didn't realize where the explosive barrels are. When I put one of my characters there, they remembered, and boy, did that character meet his end. So yeah,
we'll have to do a roll for conversation run through, because I've still not made it. Oh
my god, yes, that would be so much fun.
I think I got to the third act. I'm not sure, but like I think I've told you before, I stacked my party so full of like just pure muscle that when I came up against some real heavy magic, like I couldn't make it across the floor before they vaporized me. Like, So yeah, but I'd be very interested in doing I've not done like the shared game. Does that play like?
It plays exactly the same.
Dungeons
it's
and
like a
Dragons.
multiplayer thing.
Yeah.
I tried to do it with Race, and the boy is a terror.
Oh my gosh, that would be so fun to bring Race in. But yes, it plays exactly the same. Instead of you controlling all 4 characters, it would just be one of us controlling another character, either one of the companions, or we could create our own.
I've got to create my own. How else?
Yeah, 100%.
I won't feel right unless I have like a gender bending, charisma stacked madman.
Yeah.
Even the vampire isn't camp enough for your taste in character.
Exactly.
I have very simple tastes. I make a very small gnome and just make him like the strength of Hercules, and it's the funniest thing that you can ever do. Like, I am very immature, I will admit, but
all I ask is one very small gnome.
Yeah,
I made a halfling with a vagina, so
there you go.
Halfling man with a vagina.
Oh, okay, right.
But yeah,
anyway,
that's what I've been up to. But yeah, we do have quite a bit in the current affairs. Where on earth do we want to start? Yeah, my goodness.
Yeah. I think some of these we can probably rattle through fairly fast.
I reckon.
There's not a lot to necessarily be said apart from mentioning it, acknowledging Big Sad, and then moving on.
Yeah, almost definitely.
But, where do we start? Zach is good. I've literally said this before. Like, I've gotten hopeful about politicians in the past, and it doesn't go well. But a glutton for punishment and a refusal to learn, he seems like a good guy. Like, he won't get within fucking sniffing distance of power, but he seems like a good guy.
Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, we're talking about Zach.
Oh shit! Yeah.
I forget his surname, but basically
making
a leadership challenge on the Green Party, which I agree, Mark. I think that I actively vote for the Greens. I'm not a member. I've been voting for them for years now because that's how disillusioned I've been with other left-wing options or supposedly left-wing options. Yeah, exactly. And I've always been aware that the Greens have their shortcomings, but that is mainly because they are within the Greens. There is a lot of like what you would kind of class as like green Tories. There's a lot of like NIMBYs in there as well, and that's what I think. I would hope that Zach. I think that's what Zach's kind of talking about and what he's trying to challenge is that they need to be something different. They need to stop being quite so NIMBY. I quite like Carla. Like, in a way, she's wishy-washy in certain places, but I think on most issues she's all right. But as a pair, and especially the other guy, which I think Adrian Ramsey is his name.
It rings a bell.
He is very NIMBY. Like, he was against wind turbines or something, and he said he was representing
dickhead.
He said he was representing his constituency, which I get it. You do have to represent your constituency, and if they come to you and they say, well, we don't like this, that is something. But at the same time, like, I guess politics is about making unpopular choices, but that's making me think of the current Labour mess of making unpopular choices.
Great.
Yeah.
But there is, these aren't like, particularly harmful policies. Green energy, like, at some point we have to kind of make concessions if we want to move away from fossil fuels and stuff, and that might mean having to have a fucking wind turbine somewhere or a solar farm. And I'm sorry, fucking, your Jeremy Clarkson set.
Oh my God.
Out in the countryside lot. That's where they need to go. That's where they need to go.
I'd do it just to upset them.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know how successful he'll be because I don't know. He says all the right things about like Israel, Palestine. He obviously, as a gay man, he has as a Neil, although we can't say that anymore because Neil Gaiman is now bad.
He's not on.
And 100% legit bad because he's done the thing where it's just like he's just kind of thrown his hands up in the air and gone, well, I'm just going to be an asshole now. Like, I'm just going to just be bad. So he's now
really
no longer denying
being a bad person.
He's lent into it. So Neil Gaiman, dead to us all. I was more on the Terry Pratchett side of things than Gaiman.
Right.
Anyway,
Same.
so I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, Zach says all the right things. I don't know. We'll see. But it's a welcome, in my eyes, it's a welcome move because someone needs to threaten them a bit.
Yep.
And I believe they are, to my mind, they are the only legitimate left-wing option now. And they have become more left-wing. And personally, the only other thing I've got to say is I'd like to see, like many people have been saying, I'd love to see Zara Sultana and other people sort of like move across to them.
That would be
and
fantastic.
Fucking Voltron into like a big giant leftist robot to smash the fucking pricks with. But anyway.
It is hard to have respect for the people that have remained in the Labour Party, even if they espouse the policies I like, because of what they're propping up at this point. So if they could move to something that was less egregious, that would go some way to soothing my opinion of them. Not that they give a shit what I think, but still.
It's still a common sentiment that I hold, though. I think way back when, God knows when Labour actually felt like, Labour and not whatever they are now, that it felt something good to actually stand behind. But it makes a really, really good point because, like, I think it's exactly what you said, just especially if they don't agree with it, just the fact that they're staying within the Labour kind of like ensemble, it just feels wrong because like they are, like you said, propping things.
It's like Skinwalk, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, not to jump ahead, but like one of the other points on this, on the bullet point list of current affairs is about the PIP payments. So it's not only that they're like, they are actively, and I guess this is me giving them a little bit of room because like part of me just doesn't want to believe that they've actually become fucking evil. But like they're trying to prove that they can be hard because they're going to take, like, we're going to make the hard decisions by being mean and taking away PIP payments from people, which I just don't really understand as a legitimate tactic. Unless, I mean, my problem with the modern Labour Party is not so much that they're doing these things, because fine, fuck them. I don't vote for the Labour Party.
Well, ultimately, fuck you.
They're not left wing. Fuck them. But they're wearing our clothes. They wear our clothes.
Yeah, they're doing it in our house.
So they're giving us a bad fucking name.
Yeah.
No one's gonna entertain leftist ideas because they think Labour are the left.
Right.
Because Labour are willing to sort of wear that coat when it benefits them, but always continually shit on us. Like from the right, they come back on the left. So like, I just don't like that we are associated with them.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest beef because I personally, I'm like, I'm not going to clutch my pearls and go like, oh, I'm so shocked that Labour are fucking doing right-wing things. Like, apart from when the Jam Man was doing his thing, like,
well, yeah, but the Jam Man was going to do internet communism, wasn't he? So you can't have that. Do you want jamming your internet, Ian? Is that what you want? Think of your upload speeds.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Connie always says to me, like, that I'm kind of, like, I always get stuck in these moral quandaries of going, like, tearing myself apart and trying to figure out, like, I'm like, are they dumb? Or are they actively grifting? Do they know?
Oh no, they're grifters.
So are they evil? And I'm like, and part of me, I don't think can bring myself to think, oh, they're being kind of evil. But like, I don't necessarily think. I think that my main thing is I just think that they're deluded, because I feel like they're so stupid. They won the government, the election through basically people's being unhappy with the Tories.
Yeah.
And they've somehow turned around and not like patting themselves on the back and going, "Oh, we're great." It's like, you ain't done shit. So like,
well, I have like two theories here. One, and the less believable of the two. I'll get onto the more believable in a moment. The first one is that Starmer simply doesn't want a second term, and he didn't want to be prime minister. All he wants is what having been prime minister in the past gives you access to, which is incredibly well paid speaking gigs, and he's just sort of gritting his teeth and getting through it while he can, which means that like his BFF Wes Streeting will be able to carve up various bits of the NHS and sell them off. They can fuck off into the sunset with whatever. You know what? It would be wrong to cast aspersions upon the nature of the relationship that Keir Starmer and Wes Streeting share. And because it would be wrong, I'm not going to do that. The second theory is that, now this is the more believable one, is that Wes Streeting is actually some sort of lizard in a man's skin. And when the term ends, there's just like hiss and like a small gecko will fall out of the trousers and he'll scamper off into the sunset.
His lips are too wet. He's an amphibian, if anything. He can't be a lizard. He's too like
can't be a lizard.
He's too like wet and weird.
That is true.
Like I kind of my thing. I just think that my theory is it's just pure fucking ideology, and it's neoliberal, centrist. Adults in the room, like Gary Stevenson says, they're just kind of saying, "Oh, we're going to do the same things, but we could do it responsibly." It's just pure ideology, like Blairite fucking stupidity.
Yeah.
Like, but only not even half as charismatic as Blair, not even half as like, at least like if we look at I mean, I know the economic situation is different in this current day and age. The situation is different. The makeup of politics, everything is different because we are 10 years on from it or whatever it is. But even like in Tony Blair's fucking time, they built some shit.
Yeah, at least he had to do something.
Like,
but there is no man now. There is only the market. And Starmer and his ilk are just really poorly made marionettes.
So Ben, have you only ever known a Tory government until now, since you've been in this country, or what, did you cop a little taste of brown?
A little taste to the end.
Let me just double check because I need to see, because I came to the UK in September 2008. Who was the Prime Minister?
I feel like that would have been Cameron.
It was Brown.
Was it Brown?
Who was it?
Well, didn't Labour kind of lose the next election because of the global like financial crash? Not because like they did it or anything, but just sort of.
Cameron was Prime Minister from 2010.
Yeah. So I had 2 years of like Gordon Brown, but then again, I was also like 12. So like,
well, how dare you not pay attention, Ben?
Very much not interested in Gordon Brown at 12 years old.
But
he's so riveting.
I will say,
well, his texture's like sun.
I will say, when David Cameron got elected, that's when like the brain was beginning to form a little bit more, and I was like, hold on, what's this man with the blue theme saying? And I think I didn't, looking back at it, and this feels wild to say, but genuinely I didn't realize like how, and please do correct me if like you feel like this is a little bit too controversial, but like I didn't realize like how good we had it until like reflecting on what we have now, and I'm just like, damn, like we didn't like just fall from grace, but we just kind of like not even belly flopped. I don't know, that I feel like that's maybe I don't know.
There was definitely I mean like I think if we were back in that time, we would have probably looked at it different. We have the benefit of like hindsight a little bit. But yes, there was I would say that there was an element in the old days of like, even though they were probably just as ghoulish as in many ways, there did seem there was a little bit of more of like, well, we're going to debate, good sir, my right honourable friend, about the economical issues or whatever.
They had the respectability politics going.
Less culture war sort of shit, which really seems, that to me is the part that really seems to have kicked up the viciousness and the meanness towards like certain minority groups. Although back then they were targeting single mothers, targeting people on benefits. Well, people on benefits have just been on a fucking carousel just coming round every now and then when they get their kick in, because they're a good shoe-in, because once the minority du jour moves on that turnstile, the benefit people will always come back around for a kicking because they, as we know, they're like scroungers or whatever. But another bullet point we got down here is which is also about essentially like Britain, but Britain's relationship to your old country, Ben, which is the United States.
Shambolic.
And that is that we have struck a brilliant trade deal with the United States.
I just want to,
which I have.
Yeah, I just want to read out the brief here because I don't know what this is because I've not caught the news much this week. But I will add that blah, 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 and wants to turn America into a communist state where you have the state-sanctioned amount of dolls for little girls.
Would you like me to explain that?
In reference to, but it is hilarious.
Please.
Okay, it would be my great pleasure to explain that to you. So, obviously, putting aside the UK trade deal, just to summarise that very quickly, we're barely getting much out of it at all. Every deal we do with America is very much weighted towards one side, and it ain't fucking ours. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But part of this is obviously all to do with the fact that Trump has one tool, which is tariffs, and he thinks the tariffs solve everything. And so what happened recently is that all these tariffs are starting to bite. And because obviously like toy manufacturers, bits and pieces like that. And Trump did one of his rambling sort of speeches where in a quite creepy way, he kept going about like beautiful 11-year-old girls, their dolls and stuff. And I can't do the whole thing, but like if you watch it, you'll see it's like, okay, well, strange that you kind of paint this very vivid picture about this imaginary 11-year-old girl. But anyway, the main thing is that Trump said, look, maybe little girls will just have to get used to having 3 dolls instead of 30. And it's like everyone's been a bit like, oh, look at that. Like the ultra hyper capitalist country led by the ultra hyper capitalist man are now like saying, no, you can have 3 dolls and you can like
reduction in consumption.
So almost as if the state is dictating just how many dolls you can have and you will like it. So that's where that comes from. The weird thing about the 11-year-old
that's freedom for you.
The fact that exactly so free now you can have only 3 dolls. And I think it's basically that he just won't sort of back down on stuff. And I also related to that, and you may have heard, is that all tariffs on everything, all films that are made outside of the US. Yeah. So like a lot of people have been saying, I mean, aren't you just going to alienate all of your fucking weeb supporters when like anime's been tariffed out of the fucking into the sun? So like but obviously last week I mentioned about like this whole thing of like there's never any nuance. It's always just the first thing because you can see it's like I don't think this is fair. Right, tariffs on that, and it's like, well, Mr. President,
hold on.
we filmed this in Bulgaria. We do this here. We have to buy the celluloid for our film stock over there. The chips for our digital cameras come from that country. Just the same as everything. Like I've seen people breaking down. Oh, Florida, because apparently some of the pricks like Matt Walsh or whatever, these fucking nationalist cunts will basically go, oh, look, Florida oranges or something. And some bloke was like, oh, here's a breakdown. Do you know where the net bags are made? Or the plastic tags that go around the net bags, or the thing that we use to package them, and everything just comes from somewhere else. Because funny enough, capitalism, and like this is why it's annoying that they get on their fucking weird about it. But it's like your system that you endorsed built this interconnected global economy where everything comes from everywhere, most of the time being exploited from somewhere in the global south or whatever. And now you want to kind of just do isolationism, but you've basically, I mean, Britain is the poster child for this exact thing. Brexit is a perfect example. Yeah. We fucking outsourced our entire, like everything.
And then told them all to fuck off.
And then we told them all to fuck off. And then we had a big cry. And then ruddy-faced gammons go like, oh, we used to be a country. We don't build anything here no more. And it's like, no, we fucking don't. Because you're stupid like idol,
you kept voting for
Margaret Thatcher did it. So yeah,
God,
I do think
so America are kind of doing a Britain on like a American
massive
scale, which, as we
yeah.
know, is supersized and much much bigger. It's kind of mind blowing. But whereas we have people that I feel like will, in some way, like the Tories would talk about immigration and don't want it, but then they would just snidely bring them in through the back door because they actually know we do need
Yeah.
people from the global south to work in our economy because it won't work any other way. Whereas we don't have that in America. We have the most petulant and petty bitch and stubborn idiot who's just gonna like go, no, I will never back down. I will literally drive this fucking ship into the harbour
so
and up
help
the
me
fucking
God.
thing.
I'll take us all down. What's I can't remember the context, but there's that in one of the Simpsons episodes, someone says, Marge is talking to Bart in the car and she says something and Bart just responds with, what an odd thing to say. And I just feel like every time Trump opens his mouth now, I'm like, what a strange thing to have said. And then you realize he's in charge of the most like powerful country in the world.
Well, dementia shows itself in many forms. Sometimes it's Biden just sort of yammering and stammering through his thing and like going on about
the distance. Yeah,
corn pop, and then it's also like just because Trump can put words together doesn't mean they mean anything.
Well, he stopped saying wall now and he says tariff instead.
Yeah.
First 4 years was wall. Now he's saying tariff. Who knows what he'll say when he inevitably changes the rules and gets into like
for the third time.
God Emperor of America in perpetuity.
Will he be sitting on the golden throne and there'll be like sacrificing psychers to
do you know what?
by the thousands every day?
He's going to repurpose.
Anyone's going to do Space Marines,
the dumbest space marines that is ever going to exist. Right?
Really
It'll be so
big,
fucking demented.
really stupid lads. Oh God.
Ben, do you still have family over in America, or did everyone else flee, or what's going on? Do you get word from the homeland? Have you got an inside track to deliver us?
So I only have one aunt, and she's in Philly. I haven't really talked to her in a little while, so that is a reminder for me to get back in touch with her, actually. But no,
you're welcome.
Primarily, most of my family are kind of like based in the UK and just in some bits of Africa. But like, I do have one aunt over there. I will have to get in touch with her though, because that is a little bit worrying when you haven't really talked to your family when they live under the reign of the God Emperor of America. So
is she in like Philly proper or around the edges? Because that's one thing I learned from obviously my relationship with Connie and my sort of like proximity through, I don't know, osmosis to like America as a whole, is that you hear about these places like Portland, New York, and you think, oh, progressive, Philly even. But then all around them is all like a ring of red and like a load of fucking dangerous morons who are just obsessed with Trump and stuff. Like I know when I go to visit Connie's family, there is just Trump was right flags flying at people's houses.
Yeah, of course.
And I've told you the story about the ice cream shop that had the open carry sign on the outside. We like
terrifying.
That's what you need when you get an ice cream.
Yep,
you never know what's going to happen with the ice cream.
Just a dude with a desert eagle just like laying around somewhere.
God, it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. No, she does live within Philly. The name of the town escapes me, but she does live there. In terms of just like the people around her, that is another thing. But I've also made it a case just like for my own sanity, just to like not ask too much details about her, because I think it's just like it's just very concerning. Just like, can you imagine, right? Like you're in a certain state, and like how Ian described, you're just surrounded by just like ravenous Trump worshippers. Like it's
giving Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, just a little bit so, but. Yes, I think.
Where in Africa are your family? I don't think I ever knew.
Oh, my family, they come from Uganda, so way east. Yeah,
as far away from the Americas as it's possible to be.
As far, it's humanly possible.
Very good.
But of course, came over to England, which was a interesting choice, but
decisions were made.
I mean, to be fair, like my mom, she came like from Uganda when it was Idi Amin, and that was fucking psycho.
You just
that was a whole thing.
Jumped in and out of fires and frying pans. I think it sounds like.
All right.
It's almost like nowhere's going well at the moment.
I think that if we had our 40s, we could all pour some out for Pope pizza balls.
The Pope
we didn't
that
quite
couldn't
make
be.
it.
The Pope
I
that
mean,
never was.
as people have said, or rather, my much more intelligent partner has said to me, he wasn't really any in the running, but for the listeners, our very own Mark was very much doing the whole like a vision board sort of thing. He was really trying to manifest.
I was trying,
Pope
man.
Pizzaballa.
What could have been?
We had now. Look, I know we've spoken already in 2.5 episodes about some pretty terrible things that have happened in the world, but we've just missed out on Pope pizza balls. Like, we're not gonna.
That's a real tragedy. If
Come
I'm
on,
gonna be
man!
honest.
Like, what is this timeline? We had the opportunity.
It is
for
a
Pope
loss.
pizza balls.
It is a loss, yes.
Anyway, R.I.P. Not my Pope. All that kind of stuff.
Rip in power, Pope pizza balls. He's not dead, but he might as well be.
Dead to me.
He's not coming back from that. Yeah, he's
No.
dead to me now. He
No,
didn't go far enough.
when you miss your chance at being Pope, like.
Yeah, but I think that to end on a more the current affairs section on a more joyous note, shall we just give a quick salute to Eddie Dempsey being an absolute power chad.
The man himself. Yep. Just
Who-
he is giving Bob Crow R.I.P. in peace.
I mean, I really do just wish. We've talked about parties, we've talked about Green Party, Labour Party. Do you know what fucking party I want? One headed up by fucking Mick Lynch,
Right.
with Eddie Dempsey as the deputy, like prime minister or something. Because
Actually willing to kick some shit. Yeah.
and because what is he? I mean, I might be able to play it through my phone just to get a little taste. From the channel called Peeps, which I don't know where they've come from. They've just sort of manifested, but they only have about 10,000 subscribers. But they are doing some really good stuff, being out and about in the field, interviewing people. But I particularly like Eddie Dempsey. But what I want to go is to the end.
Yeah, his sign off was masterful.
And obviously you feel positive about some of the changes that Labour are making in terms of nationalising the railways, but do you...
Not nationalising
Well,
it.
not.
No, they're bringing some of it back into public ownership. There's still loads of it that's outsourced, and we want to see the biggest wave of insourcing in a generation we've been promised. So, look, the view we take, if you do something that's positive, we'll say thank you, that's good. If you do something that's negative, we'll hold you to account. And whatever you do, we will advocate for working class people as a whole in Britain. That's our job in the trade union movement. So, on that basis, I don't care who's in what party you are, what rosette you've got. If you're getting out of bed, you're doing a job for working class people, I'll say thank you. And if you're not, then you'll get a kick in from the RMT.
The absolute boy.
Beautiful.
There is the best thing I've heard from anything politics adjacent said out loud. Crimblins could never. Love the man, but he could never.
But I could also, like I said to Connie today, could you imagine like the amount of like hyperbole that like fucking right wingers like to fucking throw around? But I can imagine someone going, "Oh, the violent
Cult of
left."
violence.
He said the RMT would give them a kicking. Like it just I
Unhinged
don't know.
lefty union threatens with violence. Blah,
I
blah,
mean,
blah.
but
Yeah,
no,
that's an article.
do we not need someone who sounds like that, who talks very plainly and very to the fucking point? Just like every time Mick Lynch went on TV and some fucking stupid cunt interviewer would try to like draw him on this, that, or the other, and he'd just go, "No, you're like," he'd just tell them what they're doing and say, "No, it's not like that." Like when I don't know who her name is, the one who was like going, "Oh, you're on the picket line. What are you going to do to these people who stick up?" And he's like, "Well, we'll picket them. What do you think we're going to do?" Because what she wanted him to say is, "We're going to fucking,
You'll kill
we're
them
going to
all."
give them the people's we're going to give them the people's elbow or something like." we're going to attack them. He's
We've
like,
got the rock back here, and there's going to be trouble.
and but he just, it's the way that he just sort of like, he just turned, just looked behind him at like the 10 people holding placards and said,
Yeah.
well, it's a picket line. Like,
Yeah, just
like,
more of this, probably.
Like, he just won't play
The game.
the game.
their
Yeah.
game.
Mhm.
And that's what we fucking need. And I think like Eddie Dempsey especially, like if more people in politics spoke like that, we potentially wouldn't be in the mess that we're in now. Because he ain't like, it just goes back to the whole thing about Labour and West Street and fucking Keir Starmer. It's just about doing what's necessary to get into power.
Mhm.
It's not about, as Eddie Dempsey would be, is like, how do we bring about real change for working people, which leads us back to last week and all conversations about if people's material needs are met, then people don't tend to fucking play up and people are happier. And when people are happier, just less shit just happens. Things are just like, I can't be bothered to cause trouble when I'm just fucking fat, sedate,
Yeah,
and happy.
just
It
have
just
it
doesn't
very
happen.
comfortable.
True.
But yeah,
Yeah.
shout out Peeps, shout out Eddie Dempsey,
Yeah, the big man.
a real one.
Old tight man like Eddie. Mind you, they tried to trash him, didn't they? And he had to
I
go
see,
into
yeah.
hiding for a bit. But that's what
yeah,
will
but because he said something that was a bit too real that people perhaps didn't want to.
well, they
fucking
tried to
admit.
accuse him of like knocking around with racists, but what he was actually doing was doing work in communities where working class people who may have racist beliefs live and need exposing to some sunlight to.
How are you going to change anyone's mind if you're not willing to sort of engage?
Precisely.
Anyway, I
Purity
don't
testing leftists
Yeah.
is a psyop. Changed my mind.
know. Exactly. Shout out Eddie Dempsey. I sees you. Hold tight.
Yeah.
Well,
With that,
I don't know.
Well, I'm sure he'd love to hear that. And his spirits will be buoyed. He can buoy my spirits.
Somewhere he's just sat up in his chair and gone,
mate, you're
I feel
super
good.
Yeah.
The fucking boys.
Yeah.
Excellent. With that, or with any other current affairs we wanted to bring forward, or shall we?
No, I've literally said all I want to know about the Pope. It was literally
Yeah.
like I feel like I have some skin in the game still. Like I will remain culturally Catholic, but Pope Pizza Balls was like it drew my attention from any actual analysis, so we can move on.
God, what
Well,
could have been,
We
Mark?
can
What
move on.
could
We
have
can change
been?
topic. I can't move on, but we can change topic.
But yeah, I suppose we'll start with the big topic. The real learning starts when the prescribed learning ends. How do we feel about the education system? Does it need an overhaul? Are we slaves to a set of outdated subjects? Is there another way?
Yes, and yes.
I mean, yeah, as with all things, there is always another way. I think that like my thoughts on this when I kind of like put it down, and I'll just say so very quickly and then open it to someone else to speak, is that it was just kind of based around the fact that how much I feel that I've learned after school
Yeah.
or after the point where I was supposed to learn, and that could have a lot to do with my age and the fact that you will have chosen the things that you want to learn.
Mhm.
They'll be of your own volition. It's like, for example, all the way through school and everything, I did art. I showed that I was good at art from an early age, so I was encouraged to do art. But when I kind of got to like 17, my rock and roll story is that I didn't get a driver's license like everyone else. I asked for an electric guitar because like Bryan Adams, I got my first real 6-string. But I didn't play until my fingers bled because I'm harder than Bryan Adams.
Well, yeah. And we've often said this.
Or maybe I'm not. But yeah, maybe he's harder because he played it until his fingers bled. Anyway, let's not get bogged down
Bleeding's like a big pussy move. Like it's not.
in Bryan Adams. But I then learned to play the guitar, and I found out I was quite good at that as well. But I think that I had much more passion for it in a way because I'd done that art for a long time. So there was a bit of a staleness there. But I think with the guitar and music, it was like, no, I chose this. Like I was never encouraged to do music because it probably came with extra costs. They'd have to buy me equipment and stuff. But I never, it was something that I undertook myself. I taught myself. I learned how to do it. and I got rewards from it. And so it was a study, an educational topic that I purely decided all of my own volition, all of my own free will. And I feel like that has something to do with why I excelled in it a bit. And there's part of me that wonders about in the school system, like, is there a way of bringing that kind of thing into it? So I guess sort of allowing students to almost pick their own topics. But then there is a necessity for a base level of certain things.
Yeah.
Maybe like maths and English.
Some structure.
But I've always said that I do not and have never had to use fucking simultaneous equations. And so teaching them to me was pointless. So yeah, I just really feel like there's something to be said for maybe allowing a bit of freedom that perhaps I don't think is in the school system at the moment through doggedly, because this is an old model, right? This is based around like when would have this been kind of devised, this whole thing of like,
this is some Victorian shit, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. See, this is why you're here, Mark, because you'll know it's Victorian, whereas I just know, oh, it was a long time ago.
Well, that was a guess, but I know that we learned about the tripartite system, which I think is a Victorian thing.
It sounded quite intelligent, so I'm totally willing to believe you.
Ben, what's your take?
I think from my perspective, I think I agree with Ian, but I also think in terms of like structure and support, I think some of the greatest teachers that I've ever had, they really put me on a path of creativity and just like for the thirst for knowledge and just really, really pushed me outside of my comfort zone. But looking back, they were horrifically paid, overworked, too many students. Like they did the best they could with what they had. But sometimes I just feel like it's just so rough for the teachers as well. I think specifically, one thing is just that like I agree specifically with Ian about is just giving those children or teenagers or even hell, I would say even uni students, the ability just to explore a little bit more. One thing that I will certainly tell you, and forgive me for bringing up the movie again, but Sinners, the director Ryan Coogler, before he directed all of these movies, he was an American football player. He had
Didn't know that.
Absolutely no interest in just like writing at all. He was there because it was an elective that he had to do, just because like he was on like a scholarship for like literally just his for his sports prowess. But one of the teachers that he took an elective for was like, let's write something, the most emotional moment you've ever had. He wrote it. The teacher was like, I think you should do this instead of football. Like, and he did, and he just kept on going and going and going. So one of the things that really resonates with me is just exactly what you said, Ian. Like, you were able to find that passion. You were able to find something that you picked and you just ran with it. And there are some other folks who might not be as lucky, but if they just had that helpful little nudge in that direction and they discovered like, oh, actually, this is something that can be done, I think we would be seeing a lot more creativity, a lot more just a lot more, I don't know what the word would be, I guess, just freedom to explore, maybe? I think from my side, I definitely felt it from GCSE to A levels. It felt like the subjects I was choosing made me decide like what I wanted to do in the future, or I was just working to learn so that I could get to sixth form, working to learn so I could get to uni, getting those grades in uni so I could get a job. Like, I never felt really that I had the opportunity to learn something because I wanted it. And that's why I'm finding so much, almost like a renaissance of different things that I'm doing now, because I have the means, not the time, but the means to explore and actually just see what I feel about it. And like, if it works or if it doesn't work. I think we as a society, it kind of feels like we're very much results based. Like, if you're doing English and creative writing, if you're not going to be a teacher, what are you really going to do? That's like the type of attitude that kind of feels like baked into quite a few of just the young minds of people who are just like trying to do things, I guess. It feels like it almost feels like if you're not doing something that's helpful to just like get that money in, it's not really helpful at all. So again, just a giant gripe with capitalism as always. But
yeah, I mean, as you're saying that, it's making me think that. Well, I was thinking about is it Marx? You know, the whole kind of like 8 hours for fucking work and 8 hours for doing your own fucking shit and whatever for like sleeping or something. Yeah, direct quote. 8 hours for doing shit, but like exactly that, because what you were saying there, Ben, about like I think that struck a chord with me just then is when you were saying about your studying or whatever to go to sixth form, and then you're studying to go do your A levels, and then you're doing your A levels so you can go to university. You go to university so you can go to your job, and like if we go back to my guitar example, is there something to be said in what you were getting at, where it's like I was never doing. I mean, I thought that I was going to be in a band because I was a fucking vapid moron, but like, who had a narcissistic streak, who thought he was the best. But like, I wasn't doing it like, oh, I'm doing this uni course because I'm going to get a job in thing, because I have to do that because, as you say, you grew up with capitalism. I have to get a job because I need money, because you need money to live, and that's the system we live within. So I chose this thing. And I was doing it for nothing else other than almost like the sheer joy of probably at that age that I wanted to play nu metal, which like, God damn it, now like makes me feel awfully sad saying that. But it was still for enjoyment rather than this kind of feeling of like I needed to do it. So yeah, so maybe I think the theme that I'm thinking along is this kind of theme of freedom, because not only the freedom to sort of learn, because I take your point actually and maybe redress some of my thoughts on it, that yeah, sometimes you need that teacher to say, do you know what, you're good at this, why don't you try doing that, because maybe you just won't find it yourself. But also, as well as freedom for the students, freedom for the teachers as well. So I have a friend who is a teacher, and I've always thought like, man, I don't know how many teachers there are like him, because I'll be honest with you, Ben, I've got some sad news for you about teachers. I don't think it's gotten any better. And if anything, I think it's only gotten worse. And they're like,
things don't get better.
No. And I think they go, you know, they don't get paid enough. And you could see that as alongside many other jobs which are just integral to society functioning. Like these teachers should be some of the most well-paid jobs. And if anything, they should be some of the most sought-after jobs. We should be pedestaling these, or at least putting a lot of money into them. It's a bit like sometimes I say, no, actually, I'm in favour of politicians being paid more money, but they should be held to even higher, more exacting standards, because the point of them being there is to do a really good job for the people they're there to represent. So they can get paid really good salaries, but they have to be accountable. They can't just fucking bullshit everyone and do like
politician
themselves.
stuff.
Yeah. So teachers, this teacher that I know, like he's put so much fucking effort in. Like I used to go around there sometimes, and he'd have got loads of big pieces of paper from school, and I would help him like draw pictures. And before the term started, he would put up all this art and all these kind of posters and stuff all around the classroom, and kind of almost build an environment to inspire his students.
Yeah.
And I always found that quite, well, inspiring, because I didn't have any teachers like that. And a long time ago, I dated a teacher, and she just weren't allowed to do anything.
True.
And that, I think that experience there is generally the experience of most teachers. You're basically held to this quite rigid format of what you're going to teach and how you're going to teach it. And there's no room to be, like you said, Ben, having a bit of like affording the teachers some freedom to explore different ways, go outside of use different methods. Because as we know from our work, there's always a lot of emphasis put on how people learn in different ways. And I feel like that's my last word on that for a bit. It's just that freedom in all ways is like, I guess it's the thing of almost like rather than being led to something, feeling like you chose it is kind of key to sort of baking in that sort of enthusiasm and drive. I don't know,
making that spark grow as well.
Yeah. This is quite interesting because this is sort of a lot of what pedagogy is oppressed is about.
Come on, Mark, hit us with the brain stuff.
Well, yeah, like Freire talks about like how he's got beef with what he called the banking model of education, which is like where the kid is just like an empty vessel. The teacher has the thing of value that they instill in the kid, and then like it's very transactional, moving of one thing to another, like copying on a hard drive or some shit. But Freire argues that like education should be like two people co-learning and co-creating like the knowledge or the experience or shit like that. So it's like it is two people like not going through something makes it sound intensely traumatic, but like working in collaboration with each other in a non-individualistic way to, you know, co-learn something which is of interest to them both. And it's like a damning indictment of where we are and who we are, that isn't how things are done. I've always said like the one thing that I felt like I didn't get, well, all of us got fuck all from school, but like the key thing that was missing was there was never an effort to instill in you a love of learning, which I'm happy to say that later in life I've managed to curate, and thanks in no small part to my parents. But you can't just throw very dull get a job subjects at kids and expect them to find that in any way inspirational. All it does is sort of like squash the imagination and puts you into a nice little worker-shaped cube for whichever company is going to scoop you up at the end of it, if there are any fucking left by the end of it. But then, like, the only thing, well, maybe not the only thing, I'm speaking like I actually know what I'm talking about here, but one of the things that I do think is valuable about sort of the current approach of education is, you know, you don't know what neural pathways are forming when you are learning something. So like simultaneous equations and shit like that. Yeah, I've never fucking used them in my life, but I don't know what learning how to do them at one point equipped me to be able to learn how to do or how to reason or whatever further down the road. But like, I say this because I don't know. Like, it might be that I'm just trying to feel optimistic about what I was taught at school and say, oh, well, you know, maybe it was a good foundation for something and something. I have a sneaky feeling that it wasn't, but that's where from I would try and...
I'd be inclined to agree, I think, yeah.
Yeah, where that's like if I have to grasp at some optimism, and I feel like I do, that's where I'd find it. But I find how to say this, is like people are aware of the fact that studying for exams is not a good way to learn. But if I'm to put my tinfoil hat on, again, I don't know why I bother taking it off these days. I may as well sleep in it. But it's not just about, you know, pitting people against each other. It's an opportunity for people in certain positions to cast back down into the working class, people that may otherwise have risen to the top. Like if you can keep testing people and keep putting hurdles in front of them and keep giving them an opportunity to fail, then you can make sure that you've ring-fenced sort of like very securely what is, in their opinion, only to be accessed by the creme de la creme, no matter how. And, you know, that's why you can pay money to go to school, because then you can get...
I was just about to say, yeah.
Right.
Money is like the second ring fence. Like, to make doubly sure that no one gets too fucking uppity.
Yeah, like in Oxbridge, if you pass your bachelor's, they give you a master's.
Really?
But just for having done it. An ex of mine's brother did his undergrad at one of them, and they were like, so here's the master's you get as well. Obviously it's not like a master's, but it is a master's of something from...
It's like on Steam when I buy a bundle.
Right, yeah, they're just giving you all the good shit. You've proved that you can afford it and you can play the game, and now here's everything that you need to beat the oiks,
the extended
and have access
DLC
to the good stuff.
Yeah. I did not know that.
Yeah, that's quite mad. I think they're also like, I don't think people could imagine what it would be like to just want to learn something for the sake of accruing more knowledge. Like, you were mentioning there, like Mark, about sort of touching upon, that we're not taught almost like to learn to love to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I feel like it is my duty as the trekker on boards to like, it's often mentioned in sort of like Star Trek of like a Picard to be like, oh, we did away with such material possessions. We learn and we do things to enrich ourselves for the almost like the joy or the benefit of that process. And I think to tie it back to Ben's favorite like existential crisis, I think it's just all to do with the transactional nature of a capitalist society, whereby it's like, well, why would you learn if there was nothing at the end of it? It's kind of like it almost makes me think of, and this may not be the best analogy, but it's almost like fucking NFTs. It's like it can't just be for the art. It has to be because there's a fucking like a speculative asset.
Yeah.
Well, if we're not making money, then what's the fucking point? And ironically, it just becomes not about the art attached to the NFT at all. It's just about that speculative asset. And so do we see learning as just this thing? I mean,
A means to an end.
I would like, yeah. I mean, I would like to pose a different part of what I see actually like the education as being useful for, which could be used to inform like how should one approach it, being that like the most useful thing I've ever seen about school is that it's basically preparing you for real life.
Mm-hmm.
Like the idea, and I've just thought in my head a depressing second part to this, but the idea that you have to go, and because this is one of my old thoughts that I'm bringing to the front now, it's a place you have to go every day. You've got to learn to get up and go somewhere when you don't fucking want to. You've got to have to be in contact with people that some of them you'll like, some of them you'll fucking hate, and you've got to learn to be a fucking person and deal with all these things.
Teach them how to have a bad time, young.
It's useful life skills.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I always thought. But obviously, since I had those thoughts when I was a younger man, I've come a long way. And so when I've just been saying that in my head, I've been thinking, and now I've just reached across to take Mark's tinfoil hat and place it on my own head. It's almost as though, like, do you know what that sounds like? It sounds like preparing someone to be a fucking good little drone and comply. And I don't want to get all fucking they live about it, but if you now think of it and turn it back in that way, it is, like I said there, you got to get up every day, go somewhere you don't like, and deal with shit you don't want to do with people that you might not like.
Mm-hmm.
That is almost 100% conditioning you to slot yourself neatly into the workforce.
Because that's how they extract profit from you.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Here we are. I've just Googled it to make sure I wasn't talking out my ass. And admittedly, the AI overview starts with, no, neither Oxford nor Cambridge automatically awards a master's degree for completing an undergraduate degree. However, it goes on immediately to say, while they do offer a Master's of Arts, it is not a standalone degree, but rather a status conferred after a certain period, typically 7 years for BA/BFA holders. The MA signifies seniority within the university, not a qualification earned through further study. So if you're not dead after 7 years, they give you an MA.
You can just fucking bum about for 7 years and just pick up your...
scrape a third, 7 years in your dad's company, then you get a master's.
Damn.
Joyful.
So that's that on education.
What do we feel about, are we slaves to a set...
Shit, Ben. I feel shit about it.
I mean...
No, carry on. Sorry.
But are we slaves to a set of outdated subjects? So it's really, really interesting because, like, I would argue, and I don't want to be the devil's advocate, but I also kind of feel a little bit just like, who would be the person to say, I mean, like, there's obviously going to be some subjects that are like, okay, we don't really need to, like, teach that anymore. But, like, I think I'm coming from a place that is just, like, so very worried that if anyone were to, like, let's just say the UK actually were able to like be like, you know what? We're gonna revamp the entire education system. We're gonna chop off like all these subjects. Like, I think I just have an innate fear that like some of the things that aren't seen to be as useful to the corporate machine would be axed away. So like, when I was younger, and this is like, please do forgive me. Like as I was a younger kid, I definitely was just like, oh, English and creative writing, so cool. Ethics, I don't know. Ethics and philosophy sounds kind of boring. Now, where I'm at, I'm like, we need to protect all the philosophers immediately, expeditiously. Like, that's the type of thing that I'm afraid of. So, like, how do we feel about like that as a question? Just,
I feel like we might be slaves to an outdated. Now that we've been talking about it, maybe like an outdated curriculum more than necessarily subjects per se, because as we touched on earlier, some subjects are part of like a core understanding of like reading, some mathematical skills. But like, I think that maybe, like Mark said about like this kind of almost like Victorian sort of set of how we think things should be done. And I think there is an element of like, I think we're very bad as a country, as people in general, the idea of like making changes to something, a bit like, oh, well, no, but this is the proper way it's done. Whereas like, maybe you do have to have those core subjects, but I really feel like we should have, and again, this is where me and Mark will just keep swapping the tinfoil hat back and forwards, but like, we should have some fucking like classes about fucking politics and how our government works and how society works. And obviously, as I'm saying it, I'm giving the fucking reason and the answer as to why they don't do it. But then we would have educated people who would be able to make informed decisions, which would probably mean that we don't get the fucking bullshit that we get now, because educated people don't seem to fall prey to, on the whole, like bullshit arguments and like arguments, like reactionary arguments. So, like, I would like to see more of that. Like, as we've seen society and life change and develop, as it should always do. There should never be a time when things aren't progressing and things aren't changing. It surely means that we should change how we teach people and the subjects we change that we teach and stuff. Just like Thames Water's pipes are all from the Victorian or Edwardian period, and they're all pissing water and they're all broken and they're not fit for purpose because they're fucking old. Like if our basic core curriculum and thoughts on education are from the same period, it's like no one's fucking walking around saying "Hey, nonny, no" and wearing I don't know, were they wearing ruffs in those times or something? Like that, we've literally moved on.
There's a couple of
t-shirts,
right? Yeah, I've got loose fitting trousers, and I like that. There's a few things you've touched on there that, like, my least conspiratorial or most non-conspiracy theory belief about this is that the current state of the education system is because it was inherited from a time period where you didn't give the oiks nice things because they wouldn't appreciate it and they are lesser than us. And because of what you said, like this weird British ability to reify something and then say, no, that definitely exists, it's a real thing and we can't change it. We're now perpetuating this the oiks don't get nice things education system. Not because we don't want the oiks to have nice things, but because we just abjectly refuse to change anything. I think there's still some classism in it, but I don't think or at least I tried to tell myself it's not a conspiracy and it's just stupidity. But where we fall in that, I don't know. And one thing I will say for the Victorians is at least they appreciated the arts, which we don't seem to. And Ben, to speak to your point about sort of like what are the subjects, like, Ian and I will probably remember this a little better than you, but when everyone was doing media studies, everyone's dad was like, oh, Mickey Mouse degree. And now we're in a world where literally no one has, not literally, but the rates of media literacy and understanding and inquiry of what's being said have fucking plummeted because everyone was told it was pointless studying media, and now everyone believes what they see on the telly because it's on the telly, so why would they lie? And it's just like I think, what the idea behind the subjects taught is great, but we do need to not get rid of anything but add massively to what the opportunities are. Like we said earlier, it's like about what could you experience if the opportunity was there. I mean, I feel like English, maths and science are probably important, but then am I only saying that because I'm so far down the fucking English rabbit hole that I'm like, well, they must be important and you'd die if you didn't know them. Reasons. Yeah, so like it's hard even to say if they are as important as I think they are or whatever. But yeah, like I think, as you said, this is the key here is to make kids want to actually learn and to take pleasure into it, and then present them with this world of stuff that they could learn if they wanted to, and to help them to do it. And then I look at like the last thing that I want to say is like, if you look at the amount of knowledge that has been generated over the last 20, 30 years and the different ways that we access it and how much of it is available to you, surely the education system should have changed on some level. like some, just give me anything just to prove that you're actually linking the education system to what we know about the world. But
they've got digital whiteboards in classes now.
Right, they do go on the computer. Yeah.
Star Trek.
Right.
An idea I would like to hear your thoughts on is then like maybe school is just what it is. There could be some changes made to it. But what do we think about the kind of idea of, obviously you might have school, college, or school, sixth form, college, university. But what if there was another option, not an option, like a supplementary thing that is always there? And what I'm talking about here is this idea I've just had, which is kind of like almost like a learning center. Like, so the concept of like, I don't know, maybe sometimes in like a commune or communal living, that you might have a space for that has loads of tools and workbenches and stuff. And rather than you have your own set of tools, well, I'll just go to the shared workshop and I will use the tools there to create what I need to make. I don't know if I might always just be reimagining the communist ideas that someone's already thought of, and I just don't have the knowledge of them to say, oh, well, such and such said this. But just like that, like an idea that would then fit in with the concept of chosen learning after, it's just these kind of almost like a learning center where you can just go and drop in, no courses, no kind of enrollment, but it's just like, I want to go and learn about this. And and it's kind of like a free exchange of, I understand like this all falls flat because obviously this would cost a lot of money to like just run this, because the very nature of the concept to me seems like it would have to just be run for free at the point of like that you can't charge for this shit, but people would need to be paid to give it. But I think that obviously it sounds like a great idea in my eyes to facilitate that kind of post-prescribed learning enthusiasm, but at the same time, it would definitely fall back under that. Look, if they don't want you to fucking learn anything useful at school, they're hardly going to want to set up free education centres, and not in the not re-education centres, as I'm sure many of our politicians would love to set up. But like, they're not going to let you set up centres where you could go and actually learn and hear new ideas. But then maybe there's something to be said for, could we, the people, just fucking take matters into our own hands? Now that we have the internet and communication tools available to us. And I suppose this kind of already happens at the moment. And thinking about it now, it's something that with my YouTube channel in general, it's something I dearly love would be to kind of, alongside it, is to almost create a creative network within, say, my Discord, where people could come and discuss music, art, find people to collaborate with, make stuff with, talk stuff about, like, could we, or are we already making these kind of spaces and I just don't know about it? But yeah, could that be a reality? Could we just fucking bun the man and just fucking do it ourselves? I don't know. Like,
I do.
Well, like, I mean,
like
Pan-African Saturday schools were like a big thing. Sort of, I think it would have been just after the war, where like sort of immigrants just set up their own schools because they were aware of the fact that they weren't getting shit out of the British government. So they just took it into their own hands and educated themselves, and did a really fucking good job of it as well. Also, make open university free. These are my demands.
Yeah.
And
do you have to
write
enroll
to my MP.
explicitly?
Yeah, it's
because
like
open university,
and
you do it. Yeah, you do it at your own speed. But like, I'm wondering about maybe it's less of a learning center and more of a curiosity center where you can just go and hear new ideas, and those ideas may make you then go, well, I'm going to look into that further. But because I suppose that comes down to this idea of like you've got to hear. Like, I feel like I might have said something about this last week, but like, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So how do you hear new ideas and I feel like we should maybe back away from this because I feel like we're going into a different topic about like information and how information is controlled and how, but essentially, like, I guess a lot of learning is the dissemination of ideas and not in a way of, like you said, Mark, of almost like a direct transfer from like hard drive to hard drive. Like you now have this knowledge. I guess if I was going to engage my hidden Buddhist side, like the spark, whatever that is, that like, makes, like earlier I mentioned that game, Look Outside.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, they've used, because if anyone's used RPG Maker to make a game, it's fairly formulaic. It comes with like standard sets of graphics, but you can make your own tile sets. You can slightly change the game engine with JavaScript. And because it has such a set of defined boundaries, it's not like Unity or Unreal, where it's a game engine where you can conceivably do anything you want. You're quite boxed in with, you are essentially supposed to make a JRPG with it, but I see people making things where they're like, well, I'm going to push the boundaries of this and make a different type of game. But like, I see that game and in it then like sparks something and I have an idea and I'm like, I could build a game like this. And I think of an idea, like I want that, like, I want more inspiration for more people.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's still education anymore. We might be on something different, but like, is that what education should be? Like a fucking spark. We're just like that. I'm so interested in this thing, but I must know more. And that's like everything I've learned since I left school was like, oh, I want to know.
Yeah.
And then I go looking for it on YouTube or whatever it is.
You had that curiosity and hunger, just to discover more. Yeah, I do agree with you there, Ian. I think, and this is kind of out of my wheelhouse, but it kind of, there was a term that I heard about in the States, and I never experienced it because when I came to the UK, I was not at that age. But don't they have something called like community colleges or something? And I this is me being completely uneducated on this, but I thought that was just like, I thought that was an opportunity for people just like to get a little bit of like extra education outside of it. Maybe I have to do a little bit more research on that, but
I mean, it's too late at night for me to ask our other American correspondent, but I can Yeah, friend of the show. I guess I can get more information.
Yeah.
My understanding of community colleges, it was just like, and I don't
Was it a name?
the way I'm gonna say this is gonna sound terrible, like, but it's like college for the dullards, for the hoi polloi. It's like you have to fucking go to Beta Zeta whatever and get fucking hazed by some sorority or like fraternity and pay top money to go to actual college, and like community college is just for the poors and not as well respected or whatever. But I might be wrong. It might be that it is more like what you were kind of talking about, Ben. But like,
Maybe.
I thought it was just sort of like a free, like well, maybe not free, but just sort of like a more affordable option for further education for American people who just don't have the ability. And maybe it does serve a little bit like the Open University, where it's like, okay, maybe if you're older and you want to go back to get qualification, perhaps you go to community college to do it. I don't know. That would be something to look into, really. But
yeah, I think it's just the name itself that made me think like, oh, is there something good going on here, perhaps? But I mean,
if it is like what I just said, then the naming of it just makes it is like there's like an insulting feeling about that, isn't it? The community college is for the community, the broader community, i.e. you lot.
They're called
the rest of you.
I just Googled and it says they're called further education colleges. They typically offer courses and qualifications at a lower level than undergraduate degrees and tend to offer a wider range of vocational qualifications, often on a part and full-time basis.
So is that like when I went to Thurrock Technical College, I was doing art and design there, but you had people who were learning to be mechanics, fucking hair technicians. Like, I wonder if it's like more courses on stuff like that, maybe like be a plumber or whatever. I don't know. Like, or is it just further education for a broader set of people? But interesting.
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit more for a wider set of just like different types of qualifications. And I think personally, I would like a little bit more of that, because I just really like the idea of having like lots of different either like trade schools or just like having these really, really and like properly supported as well type of schools. And just like if someone's just like, I don't know what I want to do, but someone else says to them, all right, go to this place, see what's there, try it out, come back to me. And just like, I feel like there is a really big burden that is placed upon a lot of the youth today. And I will say less for me now, but when I talk to my little sister, she's like head down in the books constantly, just because she's like, oh, I gotta make sure that I do this so I can just get these predicted grades so that I can get an offer to XYZ university. I just feel that like there is a lot of pressure for people to perform like that, but there doesn't really seem to be as much support when it comes to like other people who don't really know what they want to do. And just going back to your original point, Ian, just like having that hunger and curiosity and just like having that spark instilled in you, like the more opportunities we give people to explore stuff and really just try something that is out of the proverbial corporate wheelhouse, there's more of a chance of them actually being able to explore something that they really enjoy and want to do long term. Because like, I don't know about you, and like this is going to be a really weird example, but I think it was in Toy Story 2, I'm going to say.
Come on, hit me.
I think it was Toy Story 2 anyway, but like, you know, when there was just like, I'm Buzz Lightyear. No, I'm Buzz Lightyear. And then you just see like all the boxes of like Buzz Lightyears and just like in that toy shop.
Oh, I'm Spartacus.
Yeah, I'm just like, I feel like the current grind for education just pumps out like people like who will fit into that Buzz Lightyear shaped box for all the corporations, but like for someone to actually explore outside of that and just do something that isn't just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get a graduate job, blah 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 blah. I don't know. I just want people to have more options, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to ramble about.
Well, maybe I think I'd like to add what you've just said there to my curiosity centers of like that you'd be able to like have a go at something. And, you know, maybe that would be in the curiosity centers. But I think that maybe like perhaps our last point, because time is getting on, but like does anyone have any thoughts on, because what should really happen is that we should say, right, no more fucking private schools. If we're going to put all the money into fucking schools for everyone, and it will be good because we've taken the money and putting it there. Obviously, the answer to my question is clearly capitalism, and the fact that that's probably not going to happen, because if you have money, you can use it to fucking exert pressure and just control things. But like, does anyone have any thoughts on how we would go about doing that without perhaps Mark's solution of like bloody revolution and just beating them all down and taking the schools away from them?
Yeah, have we considered theft?
Yeah. Because that's what right wingers think when everyone starts talking about like redressing balances. Like they think that we literally mean we want to eat the rich.
Yeah.
Like,
they wouldn't
suck them
taste
up
good.
in our mouths and sort of munch them down. Like I think they think that we mean like we get like the Russian Revolution. So we're going to fucking storm in and just pull out all the fucking Tarquins in their like tweed blazers and throw them onto the street and just like take the fucking schools or the private school. No, like obviously, just like with defund the police or anything like that, it doesn't literally mean that we want to take all of their money away or we want to smash everything to pieces. Yeah. We just want to fucking change shit and reform shit. Like, I don't know if anyone has any ideas on how something like that is achieved when, like Japanese knotweed, the roots are too deep.
Yeah, I don't think you can. Like, I think you have to have.
Like, with that cheery thought,
organized. Yeah, well, yeah. Let's not say anymore.
Yeah, I guess so.
But ultimately, we've come back to a nice sort of point about it being about connection and choice and experience, and
and perhaps the answer then is that there needs to be more emphasis on communities, which is not just an educational thing, but I think it's just something we need in society in general.
Yeah, agreed.
And therefore more community organising to basically fill in the gaps that capitalism won't let us and the government are either incapable of or willfully do not want to.
Yeah.
And I suppose that, what would we say? Just, I don't know, organise, form
just
groups.
organise. I think community organising is what will save us.
Yeah. Where you can hold those individual spaces. I've never ever felt more connected than when I found like a like-minded person just to discuss random crap with. Like, and if we can,
I mean, this, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, if like one person can find that, and if I'm lucky enough to find it, I want to make sure that the next person can find that as well. And it's really a powerful thing. So,
as I hope that this podcast is maybe a testament to of finding like-minded people so that you can all be sad together.
On that topic, shall we roll for what we're going to be sad about next week?
Absolutely.
Yes. Once again, Ben, if you take the mighty dice of chaos and cast them down upon your desk, not too hard.
Oh gosh, that gets.
And I shall tell you what we will be talking about next week.
Ooh, 47.
47, right, 1 second.
I like how much you like the number 47, Ben.
Honestly, It's not
But
offensive.
he did that last week with a
Oh, did
different
it?
number. So.
He just likes numbers.
Ben he loves it. He's a bugger
what
for
can I
a
say?
number, that
Just
boy.
It is an odd number,
Right.
so like I don't get too excited.
Okay, this might well be a fun one, and I feel like this is going to come with like a giant side plate of boomer bashing.
Ooh.
But the title that we have here is "It Never Did Me Any Harm
Oh,
to
God.
Electric Boogaloo," and the description is why some people think younger generations should suffer just because they did. The concept that some level of suffering is character building when really they are just trying to cover up their own weird traumas.
That's
fucking
gonna be
weirdos.
fun.
Yes.
So I shall mark that.
For everyone who has been listening, thank you so much for tuning in. I can't wait to hear your thoughts and put them in the comments in all of the socials that we have below, which will be linked in the description. But I hope you all have a great day, evening, afternoon. I just hope that you tune in next time. Bye for now.